Hi guys, it's the Island Girl, and I'm back with another reaction video for you today. And today I'm reacting to what Americans don't understand about Europe. So I'm getting this from Sabine Hassenfelder. I hope I said her name correctly. If I didn't, I am sorry. Um, the link for her will be in the description below, so you can go over and show her some support or check our channel out. Um, This is going to be interesting based on the title. This one catch my attention. I'm like, okay, let me hear what she has to say. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you for clicking on this video. Hope you consider hitting the like button and hitting the subscribe button as well. To all my regular schmeglers, day one to the pie to the boost. Thank you for always coming in and supporting your girl. Hope you guys consider becoming a member to the channel as well. The link is in the description below, or you can look at the top left hand corner of my channel. With that said, let's get into this video and hear what she has to say. Here we go, right about now.
I've noticed an increasingly negative attitude of US Americans to Europeans and the other way around. It makes me sad because I think there's much to admire in both America and Europe.
Yeah.
So today I want to talk a little about what I think is going on and what we have in common and what not. A lot
Okay.
of the US European kerfuffle is friendly, and you find it in memes like "the European mind can't comprehend this," posted by Americans, featuring SUVs, highway.
Listen, my mind can't comprehend those kind of chuck either. Why would the European mind? I don't think they. Why would a European mind want to comprehend this highway junction? I wouldn't even wanna listen. This to me, this is nothing to be envious and comprehend, because this right here, who wants that? To, yeah, the more I think about it and look at it, I'm like, but yeah, there has been a lot of back and forth on the internet that I've been seeing go who cannot comprehend for who and who cannot understand. I'm like, come on, it's we are different in our own way. That's how I see it.
Junctions are oversized meals and drinks. In
Eh,
return, we have the retaliation. The American mind can't comprehend this, with the metric system, walls of public bathroom stalls that have gaps at.
well, I gotta be honest with you. I like the way your windows are. I love how your bathroom doors are closed, or stalls are closed so nobody can peep on the inside. And I also like the idea of your what was that? The metric. Oh, uh, I do understand the metric system, and I do think a lot of Americans do, because we use both sometimes. Not as often, but both is used here as well.
The bottom and garbage separation. Speaking of garbage, in case you missed it, 2 months ago, New York City introduced garbage bins. My European mind
What?
can't comprehend this.
Hold
Of
on. Let me go. 2 months ago, New York introduced garbage bin. I thought every state had garbage bin. We have garbage bin, both recycle and what's going to the. Uh, that's a shocker. New York just get introduced to garbage bin. Guys, that the one lit me for six. I'm like, okay now. I thought, oh, I think she's right, because whenever time I go to New York, I have never seen the garbage bin like what we have here, or whichever state I was living in before New York. I don't see them have the trash bin like that. No. They normally have their personal trash bin that they pull outside, or you just see the bag on the side of the road. So she's right. Come to think about it. Interesting. Oh wow. No. Yeah, that my mind can't comprehend. Now that I think about it, they don't. They
If
didn't
you
have it.
missed it, 2 months ago, New York City introduced garbage bins. My
Correct.
European mind can't comprehend this.
Yeah.
Of course, the American European rub isn't a new thing. Georges Clemenceau, who was Prime Minister of France more than a century ago, said America is the only nation in history which miraculously has gone directly from barbarism to degeneration
Huh.
without the usual interval of civilization.
Hmm.
According to the Irish playwright George Bernard Shaw, the 100% American is 99% idiot. And
Heh.
Winston Churchill
Wow.
allegedly said that Americans can always be trusted to do the right thing once all other possibilities have been exhausted.
Yeesh.
Americans haven't been any friendlier to Europeans. The American comedian Jackie Mason quipped that England is the only country in the world where the food is more dangerous than the sex. Bette Midler declared that when it's 3 o'clock in New York, it's still 1938 in London. The
Wow.
American author and journalist P.J. O'Rourke said that you can always reason with a German. You can always reason with a barnyard animal too, for all the good it does. All
Ouch.
good fun. But we also have many Europeans who think Americans are just stupid to accept living in the conditions that they do. That judgment has become especially pronounced since the first Trump presidency. And
That's
I'm
true.
laughing at Trump supporters. People that stupid shouldn't be allowed to vote.
I see. I've heard this so many times, and I don't think that is fair to persons who do vote. I know I have an amazing community here on my channel. Let me first foremost put that there, because you know, um, you guys been nice, but you have the one and two who would come in here and say certain things, and I just let, like my mom would say, let water roll off my back, like how water roll off the the, the back of a duck. I'm not phased by it because I've never gotten involved in politics. It's just too much. It's too messy, and that's not something that I'm interested in to talk on my channel. You can find it every and anywhere else, and my channel is not for that, because when it comes on to that, it's just people can be catty and messy and disrespectful, and I'm not here for it. So, but this to me right here don't even make any sense. Why would you say that about somebody who supports somebody? That's their choice. I would not say that about anybody. It's not my place to say that about anybody, and I don't think any reasonable person would actually say this about anybody, whether or not they like the person that you vote for or who is in the presidency, or that the case. Because it would be silly of me to look at a person and say, okay, uh, it's a Dutch person said it. All right, say, oh, so who is your president in the Netherlands? Oh, um, everybody who voted for that president is an idiot. It's stupid. That don't make no sense to me. You to me you have to separate the two. That's how I see it. Because you dislike a person, then you dislike the whole country. Nah, it doesn't work like that. But that's how I see it. That's my opinion, guys. Don't come for me.
That's a quote from a young Dutch person. I can tell you from my own experience that among the Europeans I know, this attitude is extremely common. You
Yes, it
don't have to
is.
take my word for it, because by the blessing that's YouTube, we have footage of a young American who asked Europeans what they think of
I
Americans.
see that a
Yes, a
lot.
German.
Yes, I am.
And in Germany, you feel like German people have a positive view of Americans, or
Not really, I
no?
think
Okay, so
so.
more negative.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you feel that there's been a change at all in terms of how Americans are viewed, like in the last 10, 15 years?
I think so, yes. Especially due to the Trump and the Tea
Yeah.
Party things happening.
There you
It got
go.
more polarized and that made it more negative in my view.
This is from before the recent US election, but I don't think the situation has much improved
Nope.
since. In return, many Americans likewise think Europeans are stupid to accept living in the conditions that they do. An opinion that seems to be mostly based on the economic superiority of the United States, or the higher income you can make in some professions, or the high taxes we pay in Europe. I
See, here we go again. You can't judge a country based on that. Okay, Americans. they live to work, man, and they do things differently. As in, on the European side, they're more on the they don't want to they don't work. They look at certain things. Their way of life is different from the way of life here. People's way of life in the US here. That's how I see it. From what I've learned and seen so far about European side, it's they value more time to spend with family and to not they're not worried about high taxes. Well, when it's not like we're not taxed here in America too, so I don't get that because you are taxed and you don't see what your taxpayer money is really going towards. As in the European side, they can say, okay, they yes they do pay high taxes, but yet still they get free health care. Certain things are taken care of. It's not the education and all of that stuff. They don't have to necessarily go in debt to get these things in their country, but here in the US, it's the total opposite. So, which side are you more to lean on? I'm more like to lean on the European side and paying those high taxes or see where my taxes is going in order for, because I have a beneficial gain at the end of the day.
Counter this attitude on X Twitter all the time. The
Yeah,
reason this makes me unhappy is that it presumes people in other countries must share our values.
yeah,
I've
it's
lived
not.
for some years in the United States, and I believe that Americans just have different values than
Yep,
Europeans. We each have a different idea of what makes for a good life, and it makes no sense that we try to impose our values on
on
each
each
other.
other. Yep.
Have a look at this podium discussion. Can you spot the American among the Swedes? Somewhat more seriously, many Americans
Hold on, she asked a question. Let me see if I can spot. Um, can you spot the American among the Swede? I am going to assume that the American here is the one that is wearing the sneaker, the and jeans pants, slouching in his chair. Yeah, because he looks totally different. This is my assumption. I'm not sure if I'm right. But yeah, every because I've learned a few about persons in the Europeans that they dress a certain way, they carry themselves more professional. Look at the way that they carry themselves is way different from how an American would. And there he is, sneakers, all star jeans, his posture and everything is definitely off. So that's what I'm assuming that he right here in the sneakers is the American.
the Swedes. Somewhat more seriously, many Americans, for example, think of freedom as individual autonomy,
That's
guns
true.
being left alone by the government, and being able to say what they want without limitations.
Yep.
This is why they're skeptical of the idea to make health insurance mandatory, don't think much of social welfare programs, and constantly complain about censorship. They've
Mm,
grown up learning that if you want to be successful,
you
you need
got.
to take risks.
Yep.
They've grown up learning that failure is a normal part of life and an opportunity to learn.
So true.
They've grown up learning to value independence. Europeans, on the other hand, are more likely to associate freedom with social security. They want to be free to pursue their
Their own
interests
life interests.
without having to worry about, say, being indebted for the rest of their life because
Mm-hmm.
they wanted to study physics, having to ask for donations to pay their cancer treatment, or getting shot at the mall. In Europe, we tend to see universal healthcare, tuition
Tuition,
free education, and unemployment benefits as the basis of individual liberty. We are
which makes sense to me. Why wouldn't you want those things? Because uh, uh, in America, those things are no workers, these workers' rights, all of these things, vacation. These are not mandated. They're not. Every time I think about stuff like this, it gets me a little upset. And I don't see any change coming anytime soon for all of this stuff either way. But I can see that, as I say, there's nowhere that you want to try to impose the way of life in the US to on persons that are in the European region and vice versa. It just don't work out. It's two different pace of life. It's two different. What they call freedom is not what America call freedom. You understand me? What you call think it's because oh high taxes and what it takes care of in Europe. On the other hand, you're here paying taxes and you don't see anything out of your taxes. So you know,
accept higher taxes and regulations as protections from systemic risks like poverty or illness. And
yeah,
most of us agree that one person's free speech ends when it endangers another person's safety
true.
or dignity.
Mm-hmm.
We've grown up learning that bad fortune can hit anyone. We've grown up learning that we're stronger together. We've
Mm-hmm.
grown up learning to think before acting. Yes, these are terrible stereotypes, and I apologize profoundly to all Americans and Europeans who feel misrepresented, which will be all of you, I guess,
Yep.
because I think we all have some sympathy for both perspectives. Like,
Yep.
just among you and I agree that our taxes are too high. But by my own experience, I think that on average, these stereotypes are largely true. I believe that our different values go back to our different historical trajectories. The USA was built by rebels who fled from tyranny. Then they ended up
I, well, I don't look at it as the U.S. was built on by rebels. No, I think it was pilgrims. I think, if my memory serves me correct. Um, people. Yes, and in a sense, they didn't want to be governed. Um, Unlike the European side, they had a monarchy and stuff. So it was two different things. Eh? They just wanted to have their own say and don't want to be ruled by anyone. I think when you think about it, that's how the U.S. was founded. When it, want to have their own say so, which on the European side, it was a different scenario.
in the awkward situation of needing a government for people who don't want to be governed.
Mhm.
That's basically still the situation today. Europe, on the other hand, had kings and monarchs for
Yeah,
millennia and then saw the emergence of a strong labor movement, which only grew stronger after the First and Second World War. This is why we have such strong labor unions,
yep.
which prevent a lot of the financial exploitation that's possible in the United States. And these fundamental differences
Reflect
reflect
on
in the
the.
way that we deal with business developments.
Mm-hmm.
Americans tend to think that Europe's overregulated and slow and too risk averse. They're right. And Europeans tend to think that in the United States, rich people make the poor poorer by burning money in overly risky investments.
Aye, she is so spot on with what she just said a while ago. So spot on. Here in America, it's all about greed and the power and bigger corporation getting richer and they kick out the smaller corporation. So um, there's no balance when it comes on to um, uh, for the little man or as you may call it that you have no we, the privilege. No, 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 no. There's no. You cannot say what is it. It is you earned right. It depending on the job that you're in that you get certain things. Where as in the European side, um, the regulations are there so that what everybody can have access to certain things. So when it's I don't know if it sounds like I'm making sense or I'm putting it out right the way that it's in my mind. Maybe so it don't sound right to you, but I hope you guys get what I'm saying. And don't get me wrong, there's things to enjoy and there's good stuff here in America, but sometimes when you stop to think about it, there's so much is going on because look when you think about the job force, it's going down. It's not like it used to be, you know. And you have to be in a good job in order to feel a little bit comfortable and not worry about certain things. And those jobs are hard to get. So the poor will indeed get poorer and the rich get richer because they listen. They do risky investments for real.
They're also right. A good way to see how these cultural differences result in economic differences is this graph. It compares labor productivity in the EU with that in the US. You can see that the productivity per capita in the EU has grown far less in the past decades. And I understand that Americans are proud of their achievement. But
Yeah,
if you dig into the details, the reason for the discrepancy is that Europeans on average work fewer
fewer.
hours. You
Yep,
can see this if you normalize this productivity by the number of hours worked, then the curves look almost identical. What does this mean? I think it means that Europeans don't care a lot about the GPU. At least I don't. If an American comes to me boasting about how high the US GPT is, or how many billionaires are Americans, or how many big companies are owned by Americans, all I can say is, well, and what do you get out of it? Are you happy
exactly.
that you made the rich people even richer? If the answer is yes, that's fine with me and I respect that.
Yep,
But it's not a system that I would feel comfortable
comfortable
in. And
in.
I hope that you can respect that too. And that basically is the message of this video. I wish that we all had more respect for how people in other cultures choose to live their lives. Americans aren't stupid because they voted for Trump, and Europeans aren't stupid
Because
because
they
they
have
pay
high
high
tax
taxes. We just do things
different.
differently. I very much admire the American entrepreneurial spirit, their willingness to take risks, and their independence.
See, I love what she said. We cannot impose what one country does on the other. Everybody is different. What we find um, important and at the forefront here in the US is not what Europeans find to be the same. Work life balance is more on the European side than it is on the American side. But when it all boils down, each country has their way of doing things and it works for that country. That doesn't make that country stupider than the other. You understand me? It's that simple, you know? Every country has its good and its bad. Some some country goods outweighs another country, but you cannot say that okay, a man is stupid because he voted for somebody. That makes no sense. But that's a choice that one has to make. At the end of the day, to me, it all boils down to choice. You know, you made that choice. You understand, and you stick with it.
But I also think it's good that we don't all do things the same way.
True.
I follow the news both in Europe and America, and that's become so much easier since I use Ground News. So let me tell you something about them. Ground News is a news platform that collects and summarizes news which has been published all over the world. Not only do they collect all articles on the same story in one place and give you a quick summary, they also give you a lot of extra information that you don't find in the standard media. And it's really saved me you that's a 40% discount on the Vantage Sabine or use the QR code. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. More covered by the political right and by the left that the US has published all over the world. Not only do they choose to live their lives, Americans aren't stupid because they voted for Trump. Of this video. I wish that we all had more respect for how people in other cultures choose to live their lives. Americans aren't stupid because they voted for Trump, and Europeans aren't stupid because they pay high taxes. We just do things differently. The message of this video. I wish that we all had more respect for how people in other cultures choose to live their lives. Americans aren't stupid because they voted for Trump, and Europeans aren't stupid because they pay high taxes.
Man, I love what she said so to the end. She wished that people would respect how each country chose to live their way of life. And she's right. You understand? It's two different countries, two different cultural backgrounds, it's two different way of life is too. It's just different, and we all should respect that. Respect how a country decides to operate. Period. Point blank. Awesome video. I get what she's saying, and I agree with majority of what she said. You know, I do, because it makes sense when you stop to think about it. But the back and forth, the comparison between the two, it needs to stop. But it's we all know it's not going to stop. This is the day and age that we're living in, and that's just how it is. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comment section. Do you agree with her or not? You know, let's have a conversation in the comment section. Be good, be kind, be safe, love each other. It doesn't matter where you are and where you're from. Learn to love and see and respect others. Yeah, that's my 2 cents to you. Love you guys, and I'll catch you guys in another video. Bye.